new drained game announced. Turner Pinball buys Deeproot Pinball's IP. Case against John Popperdew is resolved.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Houston. I'm the editor of Pinball Magazine, and I'm joined tonight by...
Hi, I'm Martin Ebb, and I'm the editor of Pinball News, and I'm here with Jonathan to talk about all the exciting events that took place in the pinball world in the month of November 2022.
And what an exciting month it has been.
Yes, I guess that's kind of true.
Well,
there's certainly been plenty happening. But
we had the Dutch Pinball Open Expo where we both were present and did our quiz and more stuff and so on. And you wrote a great article about that. So we had an exciting month.
Oh, we did indeed. Yeah, it's certainly been busy for us. There's been quite a bit going on. So let's talk about what has happened in the pinball world and dive straight in, I suppose, with our very first headline.
Oh, we're in a rush, I hear.
Oh, well, come on. There's no point hanging about if we've got a lot of things to cover, and who knows where it will lead. So, the first story, a new game announced for the multimorphic P3 pinball platform. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what that game is, Jonathan?
Well, a little bit, because I don't know that much about it. The game is called Drained, and it's developed by Nick Baldridge, who also goes by the company name For Amusement Only Games. Mm-hmm. He did several other sort of games for the P3, but those were based on existing modules, and so we're talking about Ranger in the Ruins, Silver Falls, Flipper Foxtrot, Rhythm, Explosion, but this Drained game actually comes with a completely new playfield module.
Yeah, it's the first non-multimorphic playfield module that's been announced, I believe.
Yeah, the first third-party playfield for the P3 platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a bit of electromechanical pinball oriented. It brings back some features from those days, like a gobble hole, lots of targets and so on. Artwork is by Molly, Nick's wife. The game features 54 unique songs by Chris Wolf Music.
Charles.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't confused. And the module and including all code and upcoming updates and so on costs $3,500. And that includes artwork and plastics as well, and even decals, I think, to customize your stand-up targets, so that it's all one bit. And I think the game is, I think it has something Dracula type of theme to it, but I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen.
It's, the story is about two youngsters who go into a park and discover an abandoned castle, which turns out, as you do, turns out to be occupied or populated by various vampires. And of course, what happens when you find vampires? Well, you naturally have to go and kill them all. So that's kind of what the premise of the game is, the storyline. And as you said, it's got a very much a sort of old school feel to it, with the gobble hole being an important part of the game. A single pop bumper, lots of stand-up targets and some drop targets there as well. Single level, no ramps or anything like that. And a couple of reverse kickouts from the ball trough, so it launches onto the upper playfield, which is something we've seen before. But some of the other games sort of brought the ball down on a wire form down to the flippers, so you started there, but the game starts up there, and it's got a couple of kickers as well.
Okay.
Congratulations
to Nicholas Baldridge for achieving this milestone, as we might say. First playfield unit, and I have a feeling that we might see more of Nicholas, as he's quite. He embraced the P3 platform to develop new games, so I don't think he's done yet.
No, definitely not. He's quite active on Pinside, and I was following his thread there where he first announced this game, I think also a year ago, and has been documenting his progress on it. So if you've been following that, the existence of the game is no great surprise, but certainly nice to see it made public now and brought and released for people who want to buy it. And unlike the other games which you can get for the P3 pinball platform, you buy this one through his website rather than through the Multimorphic store.
Right.
So you'd go to For Amusement Only Games, or search for Amusement Only Games, and you can buy it from him.
I think he has a custom URL. I think drainpinball.com is his as well.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So and the good thing about that is that since you're ordering from Nick directly, if you already have a P3 and you're looking for a new game, you're not in the queue at Multimorphic for them to build your playfield module, as it's coming from a third party. So
that's right. Yeah, Nick is actually building them all himself. So,
oh my God! But that means he has no time left over to develop new games.
Well, I'm sure he's a multitasking guy. He can do that as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, congrats to Nick and Multimorphic. I don't think there was much other news from Multimorphic. They sent out an update last month, which we already discussed in our previous episode, so no need to get back to that. So
so I think we're right. So we can charge on and move on to our second headline, which is about Turner Pinball buying a bunch of Deeproot Pinball's intellectual property.
Right.
Now, Turner Pinball, of course, are adamant that they are not Deeproot Pinball 2.0, or indeed related in any particular way to Deeproot, but they do seem to keep buying Deeproot assets of some kind or other, be they physical.
Well, we all have a fascination, I suppose.
Well, yeah, they have to go somewhere, and maybe they're able to score a really good deal on these. It seems like they've done quite well, and Chris Turner seems to have plenty of money to spend on all this stuff. Where it's going to lead is anyone's guess, but we will find out in due course. But the assets were part of the bankruptcy hearing for Deeproot Pinball, or Deeproot Tech, or Deeproot group of companies. And Turner Pinball, or Chris Turner, put in a bid to buy these particular IP assets. They were not. The bid was accepted by the court, and so he picked up a whole bunch of intellectual property, which includes the rights, title, and interest, including inventions and copyright to game rule documentations, art, models, animations, design, mechanical drawings, trademarks, licenses, and all the other stuff, as well as the highly sought-after trademarks for PinPod, Pin Armor, and Pin Bar.
Ooh!
In relation to pinball, one assumes. I imagine if somebody actually wanted to open a pinball bar and called it the Pin Bar, that would not be a breach of the trademark. But
I would call it a lock bar. But I don't think many people would understand what that means.
No, it could have a different connotation to it if you did call it that. And then there's all the sort of software stuff, which was already being developed by his own company, Turner Logic. So it's the Pinball Machines API, and mobile API, iOS apps and things like that. And and also the code and the rules for Deep Root machines. And
which he coded himself, by the way, but still.
Yeah, indeed. And all the intellectual property, and this is where it starts getting a little more confusing. Intellectual property acquired as part of the Zidware settlement from Zidware, John Popaduke, Jeremy Packer, aka Zombie Yeti, and Jim Askey of My Pinballs or Apple Juice on Pinside, including but not limited to art, design, innovations, copyright and trademarks for Razza, Magic Girl, Alice in Wonderland and Space Mission X, more of which we will come to a little bit later in this Pincast.
Yeah, because that's where it gets confusing.
Yes, so this is a bunch of assets which were apparently transferred to Deep Root from John Popaduke and Zidware when he went to work for them. So I won't go any more into that because, I say, it'll come up again later. And but anyway, suffice to say, it includes what Deep Root owned of that. And there are also the Razza prototype machines as produced by Deep Root as well. So, but there are also those ones had already, some of them already been sold, but there are a couple which were sent out for testing, for UL testing.
Yeah.
And the exact whereabouts of one of them is not known. I don't believe yet. It's known where it was. It was a testing facility, but that was a long time ago. And these testing facilities tend not to hold on to your equipment once it's been tested if you don't come pick it up. Particularly if you don't come pick it up for many, many months.
Right.
So
So
it might well have been trashed by now or taken off to some unknown location.
I can imagine that there might be some employee figuring like, hey, if you're going to trash a pinball machine, I'll load it up and I'll take it home.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, but
I would.
Whether they'll, well, you would. Yeah, whether they'll admit to that when somebody comes knocking on their door saying what happened to that pinball machine is another matter. It may yet turn up somewhere.
Right. So. Oh well.
So that was. You have to kind of wonder what's going to happen to all this stuff. You know, they've got all these rights and artwork and software and trademarks and things, but what use are they if you're not going to make those games? And if you are going to make those games, then can you claim that you're not Deep Root 2.0?
Well, in this case, I think. As far as I can see, Turner is currently a one-man band, and if he wants to actually make games, he will probably need to, if he's smart, work with a party that already has figured out manufacturing. For example, an American Pinball or a Chicago Gaming, who might be open to collaborating with him, and then figuring out like, okay, which of these games is actually worthwhile taking into production. Yeah,
well, I agree, and I don't think any of this is particularly helpful. Any of the assets bought were particularly helpful as far as manufacturing goes. So I don't think, although there was some equipment that was sold previously that would be useful, but it's as we know. As we've seen many times in the past, there's a big difference between designing pinballs and manufacturing pinballs. And it's only the manufacturing part where people come unstuck. So, right. Yeah, I agree with you entirely. It makes sense to contract manufacture them somewhere else or at least work with another company. And maybe as a third-party supplier of designs to that company in the same way that Riot Pinball did with American Pinball.
Yeah,
for example. Came to them with a game, and American Pinball developed it for manufacturing and sold it. So, Turner Pinball could do a similar thing.
Right.
But, it's not really that clean break, is it, from Deep Root? If you come to them with a whole bunch of Deep Root titles.
Well, you can rename them, or maybe some designs need some tweaking. I'm sure in the end it will be sort of like a joint effort, and I think the thing with in the pinball community is unlike other cases, it's not like many pinball companies or pinball people or enthusiasts invested in Deeproot and lost money. Other people did, and I'm not saying that was right or wrong or what happened there. I'm not going to straighten that out, but I think if a company like American Pinball would come out with a food truck game, pinball enthusiasts will probably just look at that as like, okay, yeah, it's a game that was designed by or developed by Deeproot, and now it's an American pinball game or a Turner pinball game, whatever you want to call it. And in the end, all that matters is, do I like it or do I or not? Yeah. There's a history there, I get it, but in the end, people are very forgiving. If they like the game, nobody cares.
Well, we'll see. I'm not convinced. I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing that Robert Mueller did with when he started Deeproot. You know, why would you start off your company with a bunch? Well, with a bunch of tainted assets from a failed company. Well, you know, it's not the way anybody would choose to start a company, is it? To start off with so much ill will.
No, but the reason why Deeproot failed is different than why, for example, Zitware failed.
Yeah, but well, yes and no. When Razzle was put up for sale, it didn't get that many buyers because there was so much negative feeling about the game.
Right. Yeah. But it's a different story once people get to play the game and they actually can buy it. It's boxed up and you can take it home. That's a different story than would you like to buy it and we still have to figure out how we're going to build it.
I agree to a large extent, but again, I get back to my original point. Why would you start from that point when you don't have to? You can start from, you know, you can start and say, you know, we've got this stuff, and it comes out as it's not food truck. It's a completely different title, or it's a themed game. You might use the food truck design if it's particularly applicable to it. Maybe that's what's going to happen.
I agree with that. You don't have to stick to the names, but it's ways to basically throw those designs in the bin if they're perfectly usable. And especially a beauty like the pin bar. I mean, we're all waiting for that to happen.
Yes, well, I think we'll see if anybody picks up that particular ball and runs with it. Good luck to you if you do. Right. Anyway, on the subject of Deeproot,
yes.
While we were talking about that, there was just yesterday, or... Yeah, yesterday. We're recording this on the yes. All Robert Mueller's troubles seem so far away because they were. He filed a response to the claims by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC's allegations about the collapse of the company, where he basically just denied everything. Said he didn't do anything wrong. It was. Lots of things he didn't have the information about or couldn't remember, and requested a trial. And basically his claim, or they call it defendant's prayer, which is where they say what they want, is that the SEC take nothing from him by this action, that the court enters a judgment in favour of him, that he's awarded his fees, costs and expenses to the maximum extent permitted, and any other relief at law or in equity to which he might be justly entitled. So, totally wronged by the SEC. He didn't do anything wrong, and he deserves suitable payment for all his time and trouble.
Well, imagine if that would happen.
It'll take a bit of effort to imagine that, but you never know. I'm sure a deal will be struck somewhere in between what the SEC wants and what he wants. But as we've seen many times, these things take a long time to actually be resolved.
Right. Okay. But now, basically, Mueller can say like, "Well, you accused me of something. That wasn't the case. It was all going to be a happy ending for everybody. But because you interfered, I lost my company, went bankrupt, and yada yada yada. You have to pay me X amount of money."
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And reputational damage as well. You know, I may never be able to work again. So
in pinball, yeah, for sure.
Yes, indeed. I don't think.
So in the end,
I can't see that one coming back.
So in the end, the SEC might end up paying, let's say, $100 million to Robert Mueller. He might actually be able to, with that money, to pay up everybody the money that he took from them in the first place with the I forgot what they are called.
Life insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly. Those.
Well, he doesn't need to because he's done nothing wrong, according to him. So he doesn't need to pay anybody back.
Oh, right.
Yeah, you know. So okay. So that's I think that's all the latest news from the wonderful world of Deep Root and the totally unaffiliated Turner Pinball.
Yeah. So now there is a related story, but we'll get back to that later.
Okay, we will. Yes. So where should we go now?
Probably, well, I'd say Stern Pinball, which still is the biggest pinball manufacturer currently on the planet, I would say.
As far as we know, yes, indeed. And it's been a relatively busy time for them with quite a lot of announcements and lots of new code as well.
Yeah. So, okay. I've seen the 3 pages of code that you want to discuss. May I encourage you not to discuss the entire 3 pages, but let's stick to the main subjects. And
I shall be the master of brevity and keep everything to single bullet points.
So anyway, latest game, the latest new cornerstone game by Stern Pinball is of course 007. The news related to that game is that the company started shipping the pro model of the game, and production has since shifted to the limited edition of the game.
Yeah, still seems to have very early code, or very incomplete code.
Yeah, I think they're up to, well, and then we get to your specialty, of course, but I think 0.70 is the current code from the top of my head.
Yeah, and that was November the 22nd, and that was just an update which added the word special preview models to the attract mode and game start display effects. So always, we've seen this on before where it says assets are not yet approved by a licensor and that kind of stuff. Now it's become a special preview model, which I guess is there to indicate that the code is really early and far from complete.
Right. So if you have a game and you don't update it, is it worth more because it's a special preview model?
Oh, well, that's a question. I assume it doesn't update itself automatically.
Well, you have to turn that off to make sure that it doesn't increase in value, because before you know it, it's just a regular pro.
Well, one of the earlier software versions, actually from this month that we're talking about, November, from version 0.63 from the 14th, actually put some text on the attract mode each time, and each time the start button is pressed, that says software update required, connect game or update via SD card or USB and demo only. So they seem to be pretty worried about putting out assets which aren't licensed or may not be complete, or I don't know. It's a very strange situation. I think this game is being released way before it's ready to go out into the public, but I guess there are contractual obligations that mean it has to go out.
Right. So, well,
anyway, getting back to production.
Yeah.
Yes, so we've seen the Pro and Premium and the LE models.
Right.
What we haven't seen is the 60th anniversary. And there's been some news on that, I understand.
Yeah, George Gomez did an interview with the super awesome pinball show by our a good friend Christopher Frenchy and the friends, I would say. Mm-hmm. And where he indicated, he discussed a little bit what the playfield will be like. It's a single level playfield, contrary to the other models of the game. It's designed by Keith Elwin, as we know. And the game is likely to be revealed mid-December. They're only building 500 of them, and pricing is unknown at this point, although there are rumors that distributors are free to set their own price. So, that depends what they pay for the game in the first place. Yeah. So, it's a Keith Elwin game, so lots of spinners, what I remember. There's something like an 8-shaped shot that feeds the ball directly back to the flippers. It will have all 6 actors that portray James Bond in it. And I think in terms of assets, the Elwin game is using the same musical assets as George has access to for the Pro Premium and limited edition models. So, and the game is going to use a screen on the playfield. Mm-hmm. The display from the home pinball games is going to be used on the game. So
I thought I heard that it was going to have score reels, or is that not the case any longer?
I think there was a request from the licensor to make it actually an electromechanical game. I think Stern talked him out of them, but they are sort of emulating that on the display, and the score reels will actually be backlit in some way. So, and apparently, according to George, that looks awesome. So I'm not sure how they are going to do that, but I suppose we're going to find out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, perhaps it could be something like we saw with the topper for the Mandalorian, where it's a clear display but backlit. So. Anyway, that's speculation from my part, but we'll see what they come out with, and hopefully we'll get to see that in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, so, and according to that same George Gomez, who is vice president of game design at Stern Pinball, so not somebody who doesn't know what he's talking about, Stern is not likely to go back to the 3 cornerstones per year type of model anytime soon, although he didn't exactly say how long that period would be. But they have a large backlog of orders that they need to fulfill. So rather ship those first and sell those before announcing another game.
Right. Okay.
So
kind of implies that they still have some kind of supply chain issues. Then they're not able to power through that backlog of orders and get those all shipped and move on to producing new titles. Right.
Well, it depends which games where there's demand for it. If a certain part is missing for a specific game and you can't get it, you can't make the game. That's basically what it comes down to. So, of course, they have been able to build games like Deadpool and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but those are rather recent games. I have no idea what the backlog is for the games that they could not build. I mean, I don't expect them to start building Ghostbusters again, for example, just to name a title.
True. And unless there was a particular reason, like a new movie or something coming out, or a reissue or an anniversary edition.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, and speaking of production, apparently, and this is from a different source, this is Oh God! And now I might have the source wrong. I think this is from the Zach Manny show, of which I'm. The name is escaping me at the moment.
Straight down the middle?
Yeah, I think so. But I could be entirely wrong. Apologies up front. But apparently Stern sent out a note to distributors indicating that the home edition titles for Star Wars and Jurassic Park will not be continued in production. That doesn't mean that Stern is done with the home edition games for future titles. But those titles apparently are not seeing any new production.
That's a surprise. The Jurassic Park one is the Jack Danger one. Is that right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's a relatively recent release, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't know whether that says anything about how that game has been received, or how the demand for that game is, or for the Star Wars one. And Star Wars includes the regular one and the comic art one, but I don't know.
I wonder if the licenses are running out on those.
Well, even for Jurassic Park, that would seem rather quick, I would say.
Well, it came out sometime after the Cornerstone version,
right?
Didn't it? So maybe the license was for the Cornerstone version, and that is now expiring, and with it goes the choice or the option to do the home version.
Right. So, oh well, it is what it is, I suppose.
Well,
and,
if you want either of those, or any of those, I should say, the Star Wars regular or comic art, all the Jurassic Park home games, or thinking of buying them, now would be the time to get in, and before
if you want them new. I'm not sure how big the market is for those home games, and I'm sure you can find them secondhand as well. So
yes, and also whether there's a back order of those as well. If you order it now, when will you actually get it?
Right. So now. I think we were one of the first to announce, announce that Stern Pinball would be moving their factory within Elk Grove Village to a new facility.
I think you said it'd be about 5 blocks away or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's what Gary Stern told me. We mentioned that last month, but we also mentioned it earlier on. We've actually known for months that Stern was sort of forced to move to a different facility, and more details have come to light on that matter. It turns out the address where they will be moving is 1001 Bus Road in Elk Grove Village, which is about 5 blocks away, I'd say, a 3-minute drive north of where they are now located. And they're moving into a 163, almost 164,000 square feet building. Keep in mind that they are coming from a 110 square feet facility,
110,000?
Right? Yeah, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, it's not my native language, people. Sorry. So they're increasing about 50% in size, and that's the factory area. Surprisingly, we could not find any info on the second building that Stern is moving into, because they are actually, what I understood from Gary Stern is they're moving into 2 new locations, where the second one will be a smaller one, and they will use that for their woodworking facilities, but we haven't found an address for that yet.
Yes, you would assume it wouldn't be that far away.
Well, probably not, no. And the lease with for the building on Bus Road is a 10-year lease. The building is owned by Prologis, and that lease is set to begin in October 2023, which I assume will indicate that we won't get a factory tour at the Stern Pinball factory during Pinball Expo next year.
Yes, indeed. That would be the time, almost exactly the same time as the show. And it's interesting that that whole area, I believe, is owned by Prologis, and the place where Stern are now is also owned by them. So they're going from one of their facilities to another one. So, but we have spoken about this several times, as you say, in the past. We know that Prologis want to redevelop that whole side of the street where Stern currently are, and redevelop the opposite side of the street a few years ago. So it's I think they were trying to turn that street into sort of much more high tech and less manufacturing, more like server farms and cloud computing areas. So that would be a good reason for Stern to move to an alternative facility. The place where they're moving to is actually looks like a very nice factory. From what we've seen, it's currently occupied by a logistics and distribution company. So it has lots and lots of loading docks at the back, far more than Stern will need. But it does look like a very nice, glass and.
It looks very modern.
Yeah, exactly. Very modern-looking building, and it's half as big again as where they are now, and that's just for the manufacturing side, not even including the woodworking, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so
a big expansion for Stern.
Right. Okay, but also a big lease. I believe 26 million for 10 years. So you can do the math on that. And apparently, the move itself is being calculated as a cost factor of $6.5 million. I'm no expert. I was kind of surprised by that number, but like I said, I'm no expert, so I'm sure they had their calculators ready when calculating this number. It doesn't just. Nobody came up with it like...
didn't pick it out of thin air.
Yeah, exactly. So, like we mentioned already last month, Ray Tanzer will be in charge of the upcoming move, and looks like he has a year to prepare.
Yes, and that's when the lease begins, is in October 2023.
Right.
So whether they will move in
exactly
that point, we don't know. But yeah, if it's anything like what they did last time, it will be a very swift and an impressive transfer of operations from the current building to the new one.
Right.
So yeah, we mentioned about code. So very, very quick as we can. So new code for Rush came out on the 29th, version 102. Quite a big update actually for Rush, as you might expect. It is past version 1, so it is code complete, but they are tweaking and adjusting quite a lot of the way the modes work in that. We won't go into too much about that.
It's not
more settings.
It's not a rushed update.
Hey, thank you for that. One of the things which they have added to that, which they are adding to all their games slowly, certainly all the Spike 2 games, is they're putting icons on the display to indicate the Wi-Fi or Ethernet signal quality. So you will be able to see if there's a weak Wi-Fi signal, you'll be able to see that on the attract mode for the Insider Connect screen pages. And the exciting part of the update is that they now blink the selected icon in the service menu.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what we've all been waiting for, obviously.
Oh yeah, I was always lost in there.
That's worth updating just for that alone, I'd say. I mentioned James Bond. Had a whole bunch of updates. Had 4 different updates over the past month. So version 0.70 is the current one. None of it's been sort of dramatic, which is a bit surprising because you kind of expect to be moving along in leaps and bounds. But no, only a few little features and quite a lot of fixes have taken place. Godzilla got an update a couple of days ago. Well, it's had a couple of updates, actually. Version 103 is the current one, which I think was a couple of days ago, and that's mainly a bug fix for a bug that was introduced in 102, which came out a week before.
Oh, so Stearns, it comes with free bug fixing.
Yeah, it might take a week or a few days to
free bugs as well.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yeah, version 102 had quite a lot of new things in it, so I think that's definitely worth an update if you're considering it, and also allows you to have random music for the Godzilla multi-ball. Because it's not always Blue Oyster Cult. It could be something else. You can let the game pick if you want to do that, and it's got the same system updates for the icons and stuff. And finally, Beatles. Yes, the Beatles. After all this time, getting an update. Really minor, actually. I hardly know what they bothered, but version 1.24, right at the beginning of November, which fixed an issue with the way the high score displays were shown on the screen. Added tilt warnings to instant info and the ability to change songs in the classic mode of play by hitting the hidden left stand-up target. If you didn't know there was a left stand-up target, that's because it's hidden. So, but if you can find it, then you can change the songs during the game. And that's the code.
So did they change the code as well for hitting the left and right ramp? Or are they hidden as well?
Oh, well, it might be hidden, but it wasn't included in the update. But it could be hidden in the update. So
right.
Who knows?
Well, as far as I know, the ramps are hidden as well.
Yeah, that would be... they are hidden ramps, indeed, yeah. Okay, moving on to what's been happening...
across the street, I'd say.
A couple of blocks away, rather than 5 blocks, at Jersey Jack Pinball.
Yeah.
And it's been a moderately quiet month for them. No new game announcements or anything like that just yet. Although we have an inkling there might be something coming up fairly soon.
But maybe not. Yeah.
We were told that they're expecting to announce 2 game titles this year, and we only had Toy Story 4 so far. And there was a suggestion that it was maybe a contractual obligation to get the second title announced by before the end of 2022. Whether that's the case or not, we don't know. Things change.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, they were, as Stern were, Jersey Jack Pinball were at IAPA, the IAPA show in Orlando. Now, they had... 4 Toy Story 4 machines down there and 2 Guns N' Roses. On the booth was Jack Guarneri, Michael Fox, and Ken Cromwell representing the company. And also in Florida, they were at the Free Play Florida show on the stand of the Little Shop of Games, where those same machines were.
Right.
So it's those 2 events, obviously. Well, so the Free Play Florida is almost co-timed with IAPA, but
I think it's the weekend after.
Yeah, that's right. It's designed for those people who are in town for IAPA to also be able to go to Free Play Florida. It makes a fantastic week of a pinball fun.
Right. Now, right before that, before the IAPA show, there was actually the Dutch Pinball Open Expo in Rotterdam in the Netherlands.
Indeed there was, held in the Dutch Pinball Museum.
Exactly.
And Jersey Jack Pinball were well represented there. We can talk a little bit more about the show in a moment, but both Eric Meunier and Jean-Paul De Win were at the DPO Expo and were holding seminars. In fact, they were holding a lot of seminars into the structure of the show.
Yeah.
It's probably worth just mentioning that because it was held in the museum, there was a limit. Well, in most places there's a limit. There's a relatively low limit on the number of people who could be in the building at the same time for fire and safety regulations. So it was set up so that you could come in, attend the show in the morning and afternoon, or the afternoon and evening on Friday Friday was the evening. Saturday was split into two, and then Sunday was a separate session as well. So in order to all those people to be able to enjoy Eric and John Paul's seminars, they did 3 of them.
Yeah, so, the same ones, so to speak. So
yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Only the questions at the end were different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the presentations, the slideshow, and all that kind of stuff was the same, but the information in there varied a little bit. I did catch a couple of instances of their presentation, and videoed them as well. More about that later.
Yeah.
And so they were talking about. Well, obviously Eric was talking mostly about Guns N' Roses, and as was Jean Paul, but also covered the whole gamut of JJP games because he's worked on them all from the very first The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Very very nice presentation. So thank you, Eric and Jean Paul, for giving those. We also have to give a shout out to Ken Cromwell, who was kind enough to supply us with quite a few prizes for our So You Think You Know pinball quiz that we also did at the Dutch Pinball Open Expo. We did 2 of them, and we were able to give some Jersey Jack Toy Story 4 translites away, and Eric Meunier was kind enough to bring some promotional plastics and that kind of stuff as well that we weren't able that we weren't able to pick up at Expo. So thank you very much, Jersey Jack Pinball, for your support.
Yes, it was very generous, and everybody who took part in our quiz was able to at least, even if they didn't win any other prizes, they also got a nice selection of Jersey Jack Pinball keychains and promotional plastics. So thank you from me too.
Right. So, and I did see a rather interesting announcement on the Jersey Jack Pinball Facebook page, where they announced Christophe Lienard, who runs a company called Pinball Pleasure, as the official distributor for Belgium and the Netherlands for Jersey Jack games. Now, Christophe is already the distributor for Luxembourg and France, as you may know. And there is another distributor for Belgium and the Netherlands, which is Paul Wijnands. And I looked at the distributor page on the Jersey Jack Pinball website, where actually Paul Wijnands is still mentioned as the distributor for these 2 territories, and Pinball Pleasure only listed for Luxembourg and France. So I'm not sure whether Christophe got Netherlands and Belgium exclusively, or whether he has to share them with Paul Wijnands and possibly others as well. So, but that was an announcement. I figured I'll mention it, and that's what occurred. I noticed. So.
Do you know if Christophe has any sort of presence in Belgium?
No, I don't think so. No, and. I think he's based in Luxembourg himself. Now, if you consider that the entire country of the Netherlands is probably the size of New York City, maybe slightly larger, you could probably say that Luxembourg, geographically speaking, is like sort of like New Jersey, North New Jersey, and then probably the size of, I don't know, pick a small, it's a very small country, so
yes, indeed.
No physical presence, but we'll see how that works out. I mean, do you have to have physical presence? The distance isn't that far that he couldn't deliver games himself, but it's not like he has a showroom in Amsterdam or anything like that. Or
no, if you need service calls and things like that, then I'm sure you'd be able to work with somebody to handle those.
Right. So yeah,
okay.
That rounds it sort of up for Jersey Jack Pinball.
I think it does. So let's head north and go to north. We're talking about Belgium and the Netherlands, so north from there and go up to Pinball Brothers,
right,
and see what they've been up to
in Sweden. Well, they it's a bit of a mix-up because Pinball Brothers shipped a large container of Alien games to the US, but of course it's Pedretti Gaming in Italy who are actually building and shipping these games, as they are the contract manufacturer for Pinball Brothers, although there might be a change in that. As I understood, Pedretti and Pinball Brothers are sort of intensifying their collaboration. Let's call it that.
Oh, okay. Do you think there might be some kind of merger there then?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I don't have the details yet, but it appears to me that that's sort of the case. And so the Pinball Brothers Facebook page actually shared a bunch of photos from I think it is the Pedretti facility, where they are building Alien games right now. Still no Queen.
Yeah, I was going to mention that next. We saw the game revealed at Expo,
right?
And since then it's been very quiet. I know they were going to go away and consider some of the responses they had to it before making any further announcements. So I guess that's where we are at the moment. But no timeline or more information on when Queen will be released or made available to buy.
Right. So and it's interesting that of the photos shared today, actually, of the facility where Alien games are being put together, we see 3 employees wearing a T-shirt that says something like Mayland Yutani Corporation.
Oh, yeah.
Building better pinball, and it also has a Pedretti logo on them, on there. So I'm not sure what that Mayland Yutani Corporation actually is. Do you?
Oh, that's it's from the Alien game. That's the name of the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a shirt related to the game.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a company they're working for. Wayland is one ramp on the left-hand side, and Yutani is the other ones. You have to shoot them both in order to qualify the mode.
Okay. It wasn't clear to me. Could be that it was a sort of pinball related.
It is in a way, but strictly Alien.
Yeah. No. Okay. I got it. Thank you for clarifying that to me.
No problem.
So
that's about it for Pinball Brothers.
We get back to
pinball. Anything much from them?
Well,
I think you found some information about a game which hasn't materialized, shall we say.
Yes. So technically, American Pinball didn't have any news to report the past month. But again, Christopher Frenchy, who we mentioned earlier, mentioned on the Super Awesome Pinball Show, which is a super awesome pinball show. He shared a piece of artwork which appeared to me as a backglass for a Prince-themed pinball machine, and he shared that on the Meta Luna 5 page and also on his personal profile on Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. And the story with that is what he told on his Super Awesome Pinball Show, is that he did the artwork to pitch that game to American Pinball. They liked the idea, and Roger Sharp, who is working with American Pinball to secure licenses, went and discussed the possibilities with the Prince estate, as Prince is no longer around, sadly. And it appeared that they were willing to to license the Prince catalog and what have you to American Pinball, but they were asking $1.5 million American dollars, which was apparently too steep for a company the size of American Pinball. I think they made a counter offer, but that didn't really materialize into any further collaboration. And that's where the story ends so far. So at least not with American Pinball. That doesn't mean that another company couldn't step in and get that license and go after a Prince-themed pinball machine, which could actually be very cool.
Yeah, well, I think it was publicly announced, wasn't it, that the Beatles game was $1 million. So
yeah, in license fees, yes.
Yeah, and not many people could, or not many companies could stump up that kind of money for a title. So $1.5 million. Well, that's obviously what the estate wants. Whether somebody came back to them and said we'll give you $1 million, whether they go for that or not, but it's certainly not. It's priced out of most pinball companies' range, I'd say. Maybe one or possibly two companies, I think we could guess might be able to, but it'll be a gamble.
It all comes down to how many games can you build.
Well, how many can you sell?
Well, yeah. Well, in order to sell, but you have to build them as well, else we get stories that we don't want to cover.
Yeah, well, we get pre-orders again, and or backlogs of orders, which is something we were talking about earlier. But yes, it's a pricey game, and well, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. It's certainly a good back catalogue of music.
I can see a limited edition of 1999 games.
Ooh, like it. Yeah, let's party. Yes. Okay, well that was not really much in the way of news from American Pinball, because it's about a game they didn't make.
No.
So let's look at a company with two games that they did make, and that's Spooky Pinball. Again, they've been pretty quiet, getting on building games, but they did take time out to go and attend the Chicago Days of the Dead event, which I'm guessing is kind of like a Halloween type event, and it was there that Charlie Emery took a Halloween and Ultraman machine to be part of the show there. We don't really know anything much more about it. I mean, other than that's the kind of thing. I think they've been to that event before, so I think it's a regular gig for them. But nice to turn up with Halloween for that a suitable title, shall we say?
Right. So okay. Well, not much to report on Spooky, other than they probably are building their Total Nuclear Annihilation 2.0 right now. So, oh well. I think next in line is Chicago Gaming.
Yes, they are now, finally, after more than a year since it was announced, they are finally shipping the Cactus Canyon limited editions, the ones with the animated topper as standard.
Right.
And, well, they, to their credit, they stuck to the original price that they asked, which a year ago probably seemed quite a lot of money, but these days seems a bit of a bargain. And at the time, they only asked for deposits of $1,000 in order to secure your order. Of course, it obviously sold out very quickly, Cactus Canyons, LEs. So, they are now going out the door. So they shared some pictures on social media of, I think there were around about a dozen or 13 LEs, all in final test, about to be boxed up and head off to the lucky buyers. So if you're one of those and you've been waiting all this time, congratulations. I hope you get your shipping notification and tracking number soon.
Right. So, hold on. My phone's ringing.
Oh, you know what that means?
Well, if it's this ringtone, definitely I do what it means. Our
so
good friend Gary Flower calling in.
Be somebody outside with your pizza.
No, well, it's about time, but no.
Yeah, okay, well, later, yeah.
Yeah, so do we have time to talk to Gary?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what he has to say.
Yeah, usually he has some scoops and so on. So
yeah, so better answer it.
Yeah. Hello, Gary.
Oh no! Oh dear!
What? You have a terrible echo.
Echo. Hey. Oh dear!
No.
It's not going to work, is it?
No. I don't know where that echo is coming from, but let me see if I can figure it out.
It's not our end.
We'll call you back, Gary.
Okay. We'll see what we can do about that, and we'll move on.
Sorry for that interruption.
Yeah, that's a shame. We were talking about Chicago gaming, and the Cactus Canyon game, and I think there's a little more news on that.
Well, it's not exactly news yet, although apparently Planetary Pinball posted on a pin site an image of something that people interpret as the possibility of saloon doors coming to Cactus Canyon, and that's a feature that was originally intended for the game.
Yeah, that's right.
Back in 1999.
Yes, it's been mooted as something which would be added to the Chicago gaming remake of it, but we haven't seen it yet. But I guess if it's coming now, it will be an add-on kit rather than part of the limited editions or anything like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, so the post by Planetary Pinball showed an image of which resulted in the speculation, and an image of the word Hallelujah. So, apparently. I'm not sure whether that could be like Eureka. We found the way how to do it or something like that. So speculation on that and what that exactly can mean. But that could be saloon doors coming to Cactus Canyon, basically the remake that is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see whether they make their way onto the playfield at some point. In the meantime, we'll head over to Taiwan. And see what Homepin have been up to, because not a lot, I don't think, but
no, actually, on that matter, it has been surprisingly quiet on regarding This Is Spinal Tap.
Yeah, we mentioned last month that the game turned up at the Pinball Hall of Fame in Las Vegas, but we haven't really seen anything much more of it in the month since.
No.
What we have seen is the re-emergence of the Porsche Taycan game, which Homepin made for Porsche cars to use at car shows. And there have been a couple of car shows which looked like they were somewhere in China. The details were pretty scarce. But apparently those pinball machines have been turning up on their stand there.
Yeah, and, which is what they are intended for. Yeah,
promotional devices. But somebody did try to take some video of it and was told that that's not allowed. Porsche didn't want any video of the game.
Okay.
Which is odd, but
I have seen video of the game.
Device?
I have seen video of the game. Basically, it's a
Firepower, isn't it?
Yeah, an updated Firepower game.
Yeah.
The layout of Firepower, and then so I'm not sure whether we're missing out much on that. So.
No, but you think, if it's there to promote...
It's not meant as a stab or anything, but...
No, it seems to be well received by Porsche, as it was used a while ago, and the games are now back out on their stand at the shows again. So it's obviously something that they are happy with. So that's about the only Homepin news I think we've got.
Yeah.
So let's move on to let's go to Pinball Adventures, because we know that they've been working on a couple of games at least, and we've been waiting for the Punny Factory to finally be available to purchase. And
well, actually, if I'm not mistaken, that game is supposed to be officially available as of today.
Is it? Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, well, there've been lots of requests for information about when it's going to be available on Instagram, and they haven't had any reply, which is odd. But we just see more and more pictures of games being built, but no further information about how complete they are, and if you wanted to buy one, how would you go about doing it?
Right. Yeah.
So I think they need to ramp up to a proper launch, and let people know what the status of the game is, because it's been in development for so long now that it's kind of one of those ones that's always in development, and we've seen that from other companies in the past.
Yeah.
And it rarely ends well.
Yeah, so it's time to box up a couple of games and bring them to shows, I'd say.
Yep.
See what the response is, because last month I mentioned the date of December 1st for the launch of Bunny Factory, but while technically the day isn't over yet, especially not in that part of Canada where they are located. Yeah. I haven't seen anything other than some videos and puns.
Lots of puns. Yes.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Okay, moving on then. We were talking about Pedretti Gaming
earlier on. Yeah, in relation to
Pinball Brothers.
Pinball Brothers. Yeah. So. Now the interesting thing is they shared a photo at the beginning of the month of a couple of pallets with boxes, and they said they were going to make a lot of their Funhouse customers happy. Rumor quickly had it that those boxes would contain a topper for their Funhouse 2.0 kit. That wasn't confirmed, but I did manage to actually take photos of this prototype Funhouse topper, which was actually displayed at the Dutch Pinball Open Expo that we also just discussed.
Yes,
there was an area with a Funhouse 2.0 that had the topper, and Janos Kiss, who is the programmer of the game, was present, as well as Melvin Brouwer, who is a project manager for Pedretti, who is living in the Netherlands, so it's very convenient for him. And I took a picture of them both with the topper, which still at that point was a prototype, and that basically had to do that they are still working on the way certain elements in the topper are illuminated or lighting up or whatever you want to call it. So, but it's a sculpture with a couple of characters from the 2.0 game, I would say.
It's got Rudy in the centre, front and centre. In the back, you've got a hot dog, and on the right, you've got Monkey with the symbols.
Right.
With a sort of fairground background to it, and the hot dog and the monkey are on a sort of white cloud. Type,
which apparently lights up.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you can see it's got LED strips illuminating both Rudy from the front and the clouds from underneath as well. Yeah,
but apparently that illumination is going to be choreographed as well, tying in with lighting shows of the game, I suppose, and other elements of the game. So,
right. Well, my initial comment was that it doesn't look much like Rudy. That was the only difference. The only thing I thought didn't look quite right. The face of Rudy didn't seem quite how you'd expect it to be. But maybe that will change. Maybe that was prototype as well, and it'll become more Rudy-esque over time.
I don't know. I suppose we'll find out once we see the actual topper.
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw a picture from the Pedretti Gaming Factory, which had a big, several pallets full of boxes, which turned out to be PCs for the Funhouse 2.0 Rudy's Nightmare kit. So they weren't toppers, but they are they're the PCs that go into the machine to run the kits. So they had lots of those. So they're obviously planning on building an awful lot of these on-house 2.0 kits. So look forward to seeing more of those out in the wild. As you said, that was at the Dutch Pinball Open Expo, where you snapped that picture of the topper.
Right.
Very nice. So shall we talk about that now? Or
well, sure. Yeah.
Our roundup of companies, because we could do that very quickly, I think.
Well, I think so, because there's quite a few companies that have absolutely no news to mention, which include Dutch Pinball, Haggis Pinball, Circus Maximus, STR Pinball, Bitronic, Quetzal Pinball, and I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Okay, so no news from those companies. So let's get back to what we were just talking about. So how would you describe this year's Dutch Pinball Open Expo, and how was it received by people? Because you were involved in the organising of it to a degree. I was only there as a reporter and co-host of our quiz.
Right.
Oh, and video in the seminars as well.
Right, yeah. I think the show went down very well. People were actually surprised how many people would actually fit into this old building.
I suppose.
Yeah. The Dutch Pinball Museum, I think it has like 5 or 6 floors. And besides over 200 games present at the event, it never seemed crowded unless you were a tournament player, because the tournament area was packed. It's a good thing that COVID is no longer really a thing, apparently. But in the other areas, the place was actually packed and maxed out with the number of people that were allowed to be in the building at the same time. It didn't feel crowded at all. So that was a good thing. I hear. I only heard very good things about the show. I thought it was a very nice show, and I think the team is also very enthusiastic about how it went down. Of course, for some people, it's a lot of work.
Yes, there's an awful lot of moving machines, and I think it was just that one lift or elevator, wasn't there, that all the machines had to go up and down in. Yeah. And all the vendors' parts and materials had to use as well. So it got a lot of use over the course of the week before, I would say, and the weekend of the show.
Yeah.
Yes, you would be doing a lot of walking up and down stairs over the course of the show's 3 days if you were there for the whole lot.
Yeah, but I don't recall any negativity, although some people got a little bit annoyed with how some people treated games, and but I suppose that's with every show. Not everybody is as well behaved as one would expect.
No, that's right. Particularly when you sort of open them up to the general public to come and enjoy. But anyway, we had this in arcades as well. You see kids and even adults banging on the machines in either in frustration or in boredom if if they've been dragged there by their parents. But no, I didn't witness any of that anyway. I thought the location was wonderful. It was a really good place within Rotterdam, and there were lots and lots of shops and restaurants and bars and other places. The only downside for that, I would say, is there were no hotels that close to the museum. I think the nearest ones would have been probably about a 20-minute walk. And I think I was staying at the nearest one, and so I did that walk a good few times, particularly late at night, and it was about 20 minutes, and it would be nice if, as with some other shows, where you can just walk out of the show hall and head up to your hotel room straight away.
Yeah.
But That's a small price to pay for it being held in the Dutch Pinball Museum, which has all credit to Gerald and everybody who's contributed to that. It's got some amazing exhibits. It obviously put a huge amount of effort into making it such an attractive and popular location. Because everywhere you look, there are the little tidbits that you hadn't noticed the first time you walk past, or even the 10th time you walk past. You'll see a display case, or you'll see something on the wall which sort of makes you stop and do a double take. And is that really what I think it is? And yes, in those cases, there's all kinds of amazing historically significant items. And of course, it's got that nice setup for the Twilight Zone back glass as well, where you can made from actual physical objects that recreate what you see in the back glass. Mm-hmm. And I think the facilities in there were very good. There was catering on both at the bottom and the very top of the building. Yeah. So you didn't have to go all the way down from one end or the other to get a drink or something to eat. And as I said, easy to pop outside, and no shortage of places to go if you didn't want to stay within the building. Yeah,
no, great show, and compliments to everybody involved in organizing this event.
Absolutely, and so let's talk about the seminars there, because we'd already mentioned about Eric and JP, but we also had 3 seminars from another Eric.
Yeah, Eric Bartel. Yeah, exactly.
Talking about his Magic Girl conversion, or finishing of Magic Girl.
Resurrection, whatever you want to call it. Yes.
Yeah. So there were a couple of Magic Girl machines up on the very top floor. I want to say 5th floor, but it might have been the 4th. But
who's
the highest
counting?
Floor. Yes. Well, it's very. The way that it's laid out in the hotel, in the museum, it's quite hard to work out where one floor starts and another floor ends, because
it's like a maze of floors.
It is, and some floors you can go in and walk around and come out another point, and other places they're just one way in and one way out.
Right.
But yes, there were 2 Magic Girl machines there for people to play, which was very nice. There was I would say at least 2 Guns N' Roses there. There might have been 3. There was the Pirates of the Caribbean up there, and there was Kill Bill as well up in the seminar area, which was also used for gameplay and for kids tournament finals as well. And just beyond that was the top floor cafeteria. So it was pretty busy up there. Yep. Nice to see some good vendors as well there. Who was there? Obviously,
Pinsand was there. Nicholas, very nice to see him. Pinball Universe. Mirko was there. Pinball Universe
had a big selection of there. Yep. I bought a load of stuff from PE Parts.
And that was you.
Yeah, I think everybody was.
No, even I did. Yeah.
All credit to them. I saw the prices of some of this stuff, and I couldn't believe some of those LEDs. So I just had to go and buy whole bags of it. I couldn't bring them back, but fortunately, some of the UK team were over there, and they were able to take the parts back for me. And so hopefully at some point I'll get them.
Yeah.
And yes, it was really nice. Pin4 LED were there as well, selling LEDs. I felt a bit sorry for them with PU Parts selling LEDs at such discounted rates, but they seem to be doing all right as well.
Okay. So Ministry of Pinball also had a booth at the Grand Devil.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And of course, there were plenty of souvenirs to be bought for the museum itself as well.
Yeah, exactly. So no, it was a great event. So
it's not like is it going to be there again? Do you think, or
no,
is that kind of one-off?
This was a one-off that could only be held this year because the upper floors in the museum will have a different use in the upcoming years. So it will not be very easy to do an event this size again.
Right. Well, I'm glad to have experienced it, and it's always worth coming along to the DPO Expo because you never quite know what it's going to be like, and it may just be the one and only time. It's like when it was held at the Avulon in
Eindhoven,
yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
Eindhoven. I wonder what it really was. Yes.
Just to clarify for those who don't understand, the Dutch Pinball Open Expo is sort of a traveling show. It has been held at the same location in the past multiple times, but the tradition sort of is that they try to move it around. So it's at a different location almost every year, which makes it difficult to organize, or more difficult to organize, because you can't just do the same thing that you did last year. But that explains why this year it was at the Dutch Pinball Museum, and next year it will be somewhere else, and we don't know where yet. So. Anyway, enough about the...
yes, quite.
I do have to say one last word. Of course, we did 2 rounds of our So You Think You Know pinball quiz with quite a few participants, I have to say, who really appreciated the concept. And we had lots of prizes to give away. We already mentioned Jersey Jack Pinball as one of the sponsors of prizes, but we also have to say a huge thank you to Dutch Pinball.
Barry gave us some great prizes.
Yeah.
Just mini playfields, but also a White Russian model, car from the game, lots of keychain sets.
Yeah, which we will actually be taking to other quiz editions as well.
Yeah, and of course the rug.
Yeah, and the Translite.
Translite.
Pedretti Gaming also donated a couple of T-shirts and caps.
Yeah,
for which we appreciated very much. Pinball News donated a mug. Pinball Magazine a couple of books.
And posters and cards.
You're
very generous.
Yeah, I am so generous sometimes.
You are.
Yeah, I have my moments.
I always said that. Yeah.
And a huge thanks to all the manufacturers that participated in sponsoring our quiz with goodies.
Yep, indeed. And we still have a few left over, which we will be taking to Texas for the Texas Pinball Festival, where we will be running our quiz again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
hopefully, anyway, we haven't had it confirmed yet, but I'm sure we will. It's always fun, I think, for us and for everybody who wins all the prizes, because we always like to give everything away if we possibly can.
Right. So okay. Then there is we talked about the Turner Pinball Deep Root saga type of thing, but you actually had a story that was published today on Pinball News about the Zitware case, which has been basically going on for like 11 years.
Yes, indeed. Just to do a brief recap, because it's quite a long, convoluted story.
Okay, we'll read everything.
Yes, indeed. You can just go to Pinball News and read it all. But the basis of the story is that 11 years ago, John Popaduke, I got quite choked up by it as well.
Sorry.
That's all right. John Popaduke announced his intention to build Magic Girl, and started taking pre-orders and pre-order money for the deposit and half payment up front on the $16,000 cost. And as we know, if you've been following anything to do with pinball over the past or the following 11 years, that game never got made. Neither did Retro Atomic Zombie Adventureland, which was also offered for sale with pre-order money taken, or Alice in Wonderland, which went the same way. There was actually a fourth game called Space Mission X, which I believe was privately offered to various people, though it's unclear whether anybody actually put any money up for it, and if they did, they weren't part of this particular chapter of the story. Anyway, eventually John ran out of money. His company, who they paid the money to, Zidware, kind of collapsed. And they tried to make some Magic Girl machines, as we've seen before, including the two that were at the Dutch Pinball Open Expo. Now, they were delivered as non-functioning and unplayable. And that was kind of the end of the story until John went to work for Deeproot Pinball to design games. At that point, or in fact, slightly before that point, some of the buyers who had paid money for Magic Girl, Razza, and Alice in Wonderland got together, sought legal advice as to what they could do to try and recover any of their money. There was no money because John had spent it all on developing the games and never got around to building them before the money ran out. And then basically sued him for their money back, which they won their case against him because he promised to deliver them games and he didn't. So they won their case, but there was no money left in order for any money to be paid back to the buyers. So it was rather a Pyrrhic victory at that point because they couldn't. Well, they were in the right, but that didn't help them get any money back.
Right.
Then John went to work for Deeproot, and it then transpired that he had transferred a whole bunch of assets to Deeproot, including the rights to make Magic Girl, Razza, Alice in Wonderland, and other games, which, as it turned out, was only signed after the judgment against him had been made. But apparently, his lawyers argued that it was an oral undertaking to transfer it, and of course, all this time, John has no money, and yet he has all these lawyers representing him and defending him in court, and so all that was being paid for by Deeproot. But after the buyers won their court case and were on the verge of trying to recover some of the assets and were inquiring from Deeproot what happened to all this stuff, John went into bankruptcy along with Zidware, and that seemed to be the end of it. And just recently, as we were talking about, we saw some of these assets appear in the Deeproot bankruptcy auction. But it seemed like there was nothing there for the buyers to get. But as their lawyer, Zane Smith, was going through John's bank accounts, he discovered that John was paying for some storage units, or paying the rental on some storage units. And when he dug further into that, it turned out that nearly all the stuff from the Zidware studio, all the Magic Girl and Razza and Alice in Wonderland and PlayStation X development machines and prototype machines were still in existence, along with all the parts and the mechanisms and the artwork and the drawings and the sketches, and they were in these lockups.
Yeah, so basically John had cleared out his studio and stored it in these two units.
Yes, although he hadn't been paying rent on them for a while, so it was in danger of the whole lot being trashed. So the buyers agreed a settlement with John that in payment for the money that he owed them, they would take ownership of all this material assets from the lockup. So that's what the story is about. What there was, and where it is now, and the fact that it's now all available to buy. So if you're interested in buying all the history of Zidware, pretty much, and the development of Magic Girl, Razza, Alice in Wonderland, and Space Mission X, it's pretty much all contained in this collection, along with some other stuff which I discovered that, including the Houdini sketches for the Houdini game, which John designed for American Pinball when they first started, in payment for them making Magic Girl.
Right.
So I was a little curious as to who would claim ownership of that artwork and playfield sketches, because it was done for American Pinball, but they ultimately decided not to pursue that and scrap that whole design and got Joe Balsa to redesign it and with different artwork.
Right.
So none of that was ever used, but that stuff's in this collection as well. So it's anyway. Have a look at the article. There's a lot of interesting pictures of what's.
Where can people read this wonderful article?
Yes, indeed. Just go to pinballnews.com. It's right there on the front page, lead story, and Yeah, there's a lot of pictures there, and interviews with Zane, the group's lawyer, and who gives a much better description of the whole process that they had to go through in order to get that far than I can.
Right. Okay. So now, before saying goodbye, there is one item that we forgot to discuss on our last episode, where we recapped Pinball Expo. But it's a rather interesting item, although we can't say very much about it. But what caused a little bit of a buzz at Pinball Expo was a flyer that was printed by Henrik Maurer of Pinball Dreams in Germany. And on that flyer, it showed the one-of-a-kind fiberglass KISS pinball machine produced by Bally in 1979. And Henrik had come to Pinball Expo to find out more information about the game, which I was happy to help him with by connecting him to Jim Petla, the designer of the game, and also Alan Reisman, who was an engineer at Bally that worked on that rare prototype. And I was there when Alan saw the flyer with the picture of the game, and saw his response, and that was really something wonderful to see, because he was looking at a game that he figured was lost for 40 years, and all of a sudden he's looking at it and they have it in pristine condition, working, and so on. So that flyer was, I was given a couple of copies, and Alan Reisman, I think, was showing a couple of people that the game existed on and he showed them on the show floor. Before you knew it, people were asking me for flyers, as they figured that I was behind this whole project. I'm not. That is Henrik Maurer of Pinball Dreams, and he's actually working together with a partner, which I didn't write down the name. I think his name was Ingo, but don't pin me down on that. But they both were at Pinball Expo. The story is they located this fiberglass Bally KISS pinball machine at the home of a former employee of Bally Wolf, who briefly manufactured pinball machines in Germany as well. And they were able to buy it and restore it, and they immediately knew, like, they had never seen this cabinet, because it's a really different cabinet. And so they took pictures, they made this flyer, and they went to Pinball Expo to get more information, and they got more info, and they hope to display the game in a yet to open pinball museum in Germany at some point in the future.
Right, so there was just the one of these made, was there? It was a prototype or a sample?
Yes, and the game was displayed at the AMOA show in 1979, and after that shipped to Germany, as the German distributor was a very big part of the market.
Well, we know all about German market and the KISS machines.
Right.
Yes.
And they shipped the game there. Eventually, they never took that fiberglass model into production, and the rest is sort of history, I suppose. Nobody knows where it went, and it was considered lost or trashed, and all of a sudden it surfaced 40 years after nobody had seen it anymore. So that's sort of the story.
Great. Okay, and
there will be more.
The purpose of the flyer was to publicise the game's existence?
Yeah.
To show to people who may have more knowledge about the game?
I suppose both. I have no idea how many they made, but no, they wanted to let the world know that this game had surfaced, and I suppose that's the idea. There's also on the flyer, which I don't have in front of me, there's an email address where you can find more information on that game. And I plan to publish the entire story in a upcoming issue of Pinball Magazine.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, look forward to reading the whole story.
Right.
Of how that came to be, how it came to be made, why it ever went into production, and how it ended up in Germany.
Right. So. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
I suppose that rounds it up for our recap.
It does.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So we hope you enjoyed listening to this special PINcast covering November 2022, looking back at all the pinball events in that month. We will, of course, be back at the beginning of 2023 to cover everything pinball related of note that happened in December. And who knows, there may be some new game releases then as well. But in the meantime, from myself, Martin of Pinball News, and from
Jonathan, the editor of Pinball Magazine.
Yeah, we wish you very happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope you have a lovely time. Hope you get everything you wish for, and we certainly look forward to welcoming you to the next Pinball Magazine, Pinball News, PINcast at the start of January.
Okay, thank you, and that goes for me as well. So, thank you for listening, and until next time, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.